What would you do if your government offered you this deal? Stay poor, and we'll help your family survive. Try to get ahead, and we'll make sure you end up worse off than before. That's the reality facing millions of Black Americans trapped by the benefits cliff. Imagine working overtime for months, earning a promotion, only to discover your family now faces less food, no health care, and possible eviction. The government has created a mathematical equation where poverty becomes the only rational choice. And when people make that choice, those same officials point fingers at welfare dependency in the Black community. What would you think if I told you that for millions of Black Americans, getting a raise at work means their family will have less money to live on? It sounds absurd, right? But this mathematical trap exists, and it has a name: the benefits cliff. Here's how it works. When someone living in poverty starts earning more money through a better job or a promotion, the government begins phasing out their benefits. But this reduction isn't gradual or proportional. Often, earning just $1 extra can trigger the sudden loss of thousands in crucial support, leaving families financially worse off than before they got their raise. The math is ruthless, especially for Black families who are disproportionately affected by these policies. One study in Washington, D.C. revealed something shocking. They found that a single parent with one child gained absolutely nothing financially from wage increases between $11,000 and $65,000. Let that sink in for a moment. A $54,000 increase in salary resulted in zero additional resources for the family. At each income threshold, the family faced devastating losses. At $22,000, they lost food assistance through SNAP, critical supports like school meal programs, health insurance through Medicaid, and tax credits vanished one after another. But the most devastating cliff arrived at $61,000 when childcare subsidies suddenly ended, potentially costing the family over $20,000 annually in childcare expenses. For people caught in this trap, the economically rational choice is often to decline raises, turn down promotions, or reduce work hours. Why work harder to earn $5,000 more if it costs your family $10,000 in essential benefits? Do you accept a promotion that might advance your career long-term, but leave your children without health care or stable housing right now? Many parents describe living in constant fear that even a small raise could push them over a benefits cliff, with catastrophic consequences for their families. And by the way, if you're feeling that same frustration right now, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Here on Black Stories Untold, we uncover the systems designed to keep us down and expose the truths they don't want us to know. While mathematical traps may keep people poor today, they're built upon a much older foundation of racist practices. Long before any welfare program existed, government officials took out their pens and literally drew lines on maps, determining which Americans could build wealth and which could not. A practice so effective at creating poverty that its effects remain perfectly visible on any modern map 100 years later. Picture a map of your city from the 1930s. There are neighborhoods outlined in red ink, not because they were dangerous or run down, but because Black families lived there. If your home fell within those red lines, you couldn't get a mortgage, period. Your income, your credit score, your character, none of it mattered. The only thing that mattered was the color of your skin and how Black were you. This practice, known as redlining, wasn't some secret conspiracy. It was open, official government policy. For 40 years, these maps determined who could build wealth through home ownership, the primary method most American families used to build wealth. White families received government-backed mortgages and moved to growing suburbs where property values continued to increase. But Black families were denied the same opportunity. But this BS didn't end when redlining was officially outlawed in 1968. Places like Alabama, Michigan, and Colorado remained caught in this trap. Even now, 1 in 4 Black Americans live in high-poverty neighborhoods, often the exact same communities that were redlined 90 years ago. Before these racist policies, thriving Black communities flourished across America. Greenwood District in Tulsa, known as Black Wall Street, was a testament to Black entrepreneurship and excellence. With its own hospital, schools, theaters, and dozens of successful businesses, Greenwood demonstrated that poverty wasn't an inherent part of Blackness. But systemic racism, through violent destruction in Tulsa, and through tools like redlining elsewhere, deliberately dismantled these vibrant communities. I'm curious, does your city still carry the scars of redlining or segregation? Maybe it's something you've noticed without even realizing it. Let me know down in the comments what the legacy of these policies looks like where you live. What's crazier is that recent studies show that your childhood neighborhood can predict your future income with disturbing accuracy. This neighborhood effect is so powerful that a Black child is approximately 4 times more likely to spend their entire life in poverty than children of other races. An astounding 77% of Black children experience poverty before adolescence, and of those, 69% live in poverty for 9 or more years. Formerly redlined neighborhoods today still suffer from substandard housing, fewer parks, greater exposure to pollution, and limited access to basic stuff like healthcare. But what's worse is that Black neighborhoods became the testing grounds for policies designed to tear apart Black families from the inside. The government that drew those red lines around Black communities had another devastating tool in their arsenal: the man-in-the-house rule. This policy effectively gave the government permission to raid Black homes like they were a SWAT team. Imagine this scenario. It's midnight. You're asleep with your children when there's a loud knock at the door. Government agents barge in and begin searching under your bed, in your closet, even checking your bathroom for a man's toothbrush. Finding any evidence of a man's presence meant immediate termination of the benefits your family needed to survive. A father's hat on a hook or a pair of work boots by the door could be the difference between your children eating or going hungry. Midnight raids became a terrifying reality for Black families receiving assistance. What makes this even more wild is how these government programs were originally designed. When created in 1935, it primarily benefited white widows. States had broad discretion in determining eligibility, which, in a Jim Crow America, meant Black families faced systematic exclusion. And what's wild is that the same government officials who implemented policies forcing Black fathers from their homes would then turn around and blame absent Black fathers for the problems in Black communities. The man-in-the-house rule wasn't officially struck down until 1968, but by then, the damage was done. Decades of forced separation had created patterns that would prove difficult to reverse. The government had successfully engineered a problem which they would later blame as a moral failure of Black people. Today, while midnight raids searching for men in closets are gone, a new way to destroy the Black family has emerged, one that ironically calls itself child welfare. This modern system continues the government's long tradition of tearing Black families apart, but now poverty itself has become the crime. This approach isn't new. The Federal Children's Bureau, established in 1912, operated on the belief that children couldn't thrive in poor homes. Today, judges frequently equate financial struggle with parental inadequacy. What makes this particularly evil is how it connects to our earlier history. From slavery to the man-in-the-house rule to today's child welfare system, all methods of controlling and dismantling Black families have evolved, but never disappeared. Sociologist Dorothy Roberts argues it isn't a child welfare system at all, but rather a family policing system that punishes Black families. The statistics paint a devastating picture. A Black child is 4 times more likely to spend their entire life in poverty than children of other races. Then, that same poverty becomes the justification for removing them from their parents. When children are removed from their homes, essential community connections break down. Things like family, neighbors, and churches are exactly what help families escape poverty. Many foster children face increased risks of homelessness, incarceration, and addiction. Many families avoid seeking the very assistance they need, food benefits, healthcare, or housing aid, out of fear that admitting their struggle will lead to losing their children. How are we expected to get help when even explaining our problems will destroy our families? The truth is, these aren't unsolvable problems. We already know exactly how to fix it. Right now in Washington, D.C., programs like the D.C. Career Mobility Action Plan, they actually do what they say they're going to do. Instead of punishing people for making more money, they provide something called a Holdarmless Fund. When someone starts earning too much to qualify for food stamps or childcare help, the program steps in with cash to make up the difference. It's so simple it seems obvious. And guess what? It works. When families don't have to worry about losing everything by making more money, they can actually focus on building their careers. The program reduces those crazy effective tax rates from over 100% down to just 60%. That means for every dollar someone earns, they get to keep 40 cents instead of losing money. That's how math is supposed to work. It's not just about fixing the benefits cliff either. Remember how I mentioned kids being separated from their families? There's a program called Friends of the Children that's fixing that too. They pair kids with professional mentors who stick with them from kindergarten all the way through high school graduation. These are trained, paid professionals who meet with kids multiple times every week, helping them navigate school, family life, and everything in between. The results are mind-blowing. 93% of kids in the program stay completely out of the justice system. That's huge considering how many foster kids end up arrested or in jail. For every single dollar invested in Friends of the Children, $7 goes back into the community. That's because these kids stay in school, stay out of trouble, and grow up to be stable, productive adults. So let me get this straight. We have a program that keeps families together, keeps kids out of jail, and somehow it's still only running in a handful of communities? Make it make sense. These programs work because they address the real problems, not the made-up ones politicians like to talk about. They don't blame people for being lazy or tell them to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. They recognize that the system itself is designed to keep people down, and they fix the system instead of trying to fix the people. We could be doing so much more. Community land trusts could help families build wealth in neighborhoods that were redlined, and we could transform child welfare into something that actually helps families stay together instead of tearing them apart. All of these solutions have been tested, all of them work, and all of them remain small, underfunded, or completely ignored by the people in power. It's almost like they don't actually want to solve these problems. We've been told Black Americans just need to work harder, save more, make better choices. But we've seen the math. The system created a game impossible to win, then blamed the players for losing. Want to understand more? Check out our video on redlining to see how deep this goes. This was Black Stories Untold, and as always, thanks for watching.